here we are back at the dashboard, and we're ready to create an actual teaching calendar from the courses that you've added to your schedule for the year. You can notice from the dashboard that a couple things have happened. We don't have a lesson for the day because we haven't created the calendar, and we're going to do that right now, and you're going to see how that populates with a lesson plan for today after this step. But you can see the courses that we added. We have zoology, we have the Foundations Week, which is a course that I'll talk a little bit more about in this step, on our own from literature, more music, Smarter Babies from music, and the others. The first thing that you're going to do to create an actual calendar from these courses, using the settings that you set up in step 3, the school year settings, or step 2, I think it was, you're going to click on My Calendar from your dashboard. It's going to take you to this page with a calendar. It's a pretty simple calendar. It looks very familiar to other calendars, online calendars or digital calendars that you may have used. A couple interesting and helpful options and applications that are specific and custom for this particular use are these things. If you need to go back and change your calendar settings at any point, you can do that here by clicking on this tab right here. You can print your calendar too. If you want to print it by month, week, or multiple months, you can do that. You can also, and you set that right here, if you want to print the month, the week, or the day, I shouldn't have said multiple months, just month, week, or day view. You can change that view right here to different view options. One of the neat things about this calendar is that you can create a lesson prep generator, or you can use the lesson prep generator to create a lesson materials and prep list with the specific lessons for the date range that you select. So let's say at the beginning of the week or the end of the week, you want to prepare all the materials at one time for everything you're going to be teaching for the next week. All you have to do is come to your calendar and you click on next week, that date range, and you click generate prep list, and it'll show you a prep list of everything that you need to put together for that week. Now there's nothing showing there, and why? Because we don't have any lessons right now on our calendar. But after this calendar is populated with your lesson plans, either manually or automatically, then all the lesson materials and prep from that week will generate on that PDF that it created there automatically for you. I said manually and automatically, and you're probably wondering what that means. This is a little bit more of a technical step, and so I'm going to take a little bit more time on this one. It's not difficult, but there are multiple steps, and there are different ways that you can create a calendar. Primarily because when we decided, or when we developed this application, this calendar application, we really designed it around the most common and the majority of members that we have and how they teach. But nobody has the same schedule. Nobody has the same way of teaching, the same calendar. Some people teach more than one lesson a day, and that's fine. Some people teach fewer days. So they have a different order than what we allow in our settings. And so if you ever need to just create your calendar, it's very simple to do that as well. When I say create your calendar, I mean create your calendar manually. Let me just show you that before I show you the automation or the automatic way of generating a calendar. I'm going to show you how you would do it manually. If the automated system doesn't work for you, you can always just, let's say we start teaching, we just signed up today, Caroline Ingalls, and we're starting on Monday the 8th. You click on the 8th and it brings up this right here. You can name this particular activity or lesson, or you can just add a lesson. And if I want to add a lesson, note that when I click add a lesson, it only pulls the courses that I'm teaching. So it's really simple. Let's say we're starting with foundations lessons. I can add lesson 1 right there, create the event, and it's on my calendar. On the 9th, same thing, add a lesson. Foundations week, oh, it's already selected, coincidentally, that's nice. And create the event. 10th, same thing. I'm not going to do this on all of them, but you get the idea. And create the event. Let's say on Wednesday, I also have a different event. We're going on a field trip. I click on it again, and I type in field trip to Ogleszoo. Let's say, well, that'd be I think it is open actually. Anyway, if you don't want to say it's an all-day event, you can put the specific time if you'd like to. We're going to go at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 hours. and I create the event. And you can see a little bit of a distinction here. If it's a non-lesson event, then it's going to show up a little bit different on your calendar, so that you can easily see what events on your calendar are lesson plan related and what events are non-lesson plan related. That's how that will look. Now, it's also super easy on the manual side of this. I'm showing you how you create a calendar manually right now, to just drag it and drop it. So let's say you don't get to that lesson on that day. It's easy to just move those lessons around however you want. Okay, now I'm going to just delete these events because I want to show you the automated way of creating the calendar. And so just click on each of these events really quickly here and delete them. That also is very simple. If you just wanted to delete something on your calendar, just click on the event and it pops open with an option to delete it. And now we have a clear calendar again. The last thing that we'll show you about this calendar, or this teaching calendar application, is this Generate Calendar. This is a pretty fun little application. And I will admit, it can be a little confusing. So I'm going to take my time in explaining this here and all the options that it provides. Again, most importantly, if this doesn't work for you, if this is not how you, if it doesn't result in a calendar that's suitable for you and preferable for you and your family, then just create the calendar manually. But my recommendation would be to not create a manual calendar too far in advance, because things come up and that schedule is going to change. So if you're creating a calendar manually, do it at most 1 month at a time. Even here on this calendar, you can generate a calendar 1 month at a time, 3 months at a time, or 12 months. It's super simple to use. And so if you just want to see your 12-month view of your calendar after it's done, that's kind of fun. But if you want to just see what it looks like for 1 month, you can do that as well using that little drop down. The first thing that we see here is we see the courses that we've added. Like I said, we have all those 7 courses that we thought would be interesting, that the kids are excited to learn about. And then we see the days that we have available to teach over here. What we're going to do is we're going to drag these over. The first thing that we're going to drag over, and that you should drag over, in my opinion, is this first week foundations. Just like every course starts with foundations lessons, on campus every year, the students in every single class have a foundations week where they review really important methods and philosophies that really guide the learning and that they're going to need to be familiar with and understand throughout the year, lesson by lesson. Let me just show you what these are. And as you drag these over, you can open them up and you can uncheck any lessons that you don't want to teach. Now, we want to teach all of these lessons, so we're going to keep them checked, but you can see how you can uncheck them as well. This first one, creating a student binder. This is essential. I mean, this is where they record all of their records of learning. And that's what the last R in the 4R'ing approach, this research, reason, relate, record. They make a record of what they learned that day, and they put it into their student binder behind the tab and behind the unit tab for that specific course. And so this lesson walks them through why we record, why it's important to record what we learn, for safekeeping, for remembrance, for teaching. And it helps them to set up that binder. And so they actually add the tabs and they draw pictures on the tabs and they make it their own. They put their name on it. It's a great lesson at the beginning of every year. They learn more about the timeline, the his story timeline, the history timeline. We say his story because Christ or history is a story of our Heavenly Father and his people on this earth. And so there is a timeline that we set up in the house, and you've probably seen some of these in some of the pictures from your dashboard, or maybe some friends that you've talked with that have used family school. But the his story timeline is a really critical, a really important method that we use, and helps children to frame up the things that they're learning in a way where they understand what else is happening in the world at that time when that thing or that person lived or that invention occurred. It's a really fun way to learn. And over time, it becomes a beautiful mosaic of images on the wall underneath this timeline, this his story timeline. The principal approach. This is a lesson that talks and teaches about the value of connecting principles of the gospel to academic learning, that all learning is spiritual, and even academics alone are spiritual, but we intentionally connect principles of the gospel, the restored gospel, to this academic experience each day, and why that's important and how it builds testimony and deepens conversion. This lesson 4, research, reason, relate, record. a really, really important framework for learning that embodies every single piece of instruction that we provide in American Heritage Worldwide through family school, through Heart Start preschool, through the high school courses. Not so much in preschool. I shouldn't say that, because we really don't follow that framework in preschool as much, because there's so much hands-on and activity and doing. It's more of a Montessori approach than it would be a research, reason, relate, record experience. But certainly every family school lesson and every middle and high school lesson utilize the framework of 4Ring for learning. We research academics, we reason the gospel principle, we see it through a different lens, through the lens of the gospel. We relate it to our lives. What does this mean to me, and how do I change, or what do I do differently because of what I've learned today? And then recording it in a way that allows us to review it and remember it and keep it for safe and save it for safekeeping. Lesson 5, some other common methods that we use: character charts, word studies, and I can't see it there, but it's another one and I can't remember what it is. I don't want to click on it right now because I don't want this demo to get too much longer than it's going to be. This is the longest demo that you're going to watch, but it's a fun one. Okay, we're going to keep dragging these courses over. Say zoology, we want to move over next. On our own from literature, more music, smarter babies from music. Renaissance and Baroque art, the Gospels restored. Maybe we want to do that right after foundations for some reason. You can drop that and you can drag them and change them however you want. And then Europe as well, and geography. Well, look what's happened as we've dragged these over. I wish I would have had this a little bit lower so you could see what was happening. But as we dragged these over, it changed the number of days remaining to the point where we actually have a negative 43 days. This is a problem. And this is really common, actually. This was really common the first couple of years when we started providing family school, and we provided it by a year, and we gave them one course from each subject. And what we found out is that really, if most family schoolers don't teach 180 days, and so they weren't finishing it, and mothers were feeling like failures at the end of the year, and because it was taking them a year and a half to do 1 year, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference. But we avoided that altogether when we put all this online. And now we give you the ability to build your year. That's the whole point of all of these first few steps, is you building your year. If that's 138 lessons, then great. If it's 190, fantastic. It doesn't make any difference. It's not a competition. It's just whatever works for your family. But we do have a problem here. We have negative 43 days. Essentially, we have about 180 lessons there, but we only have 138 days to teach. 181, I think, is what that is exactly. Anyway, we can resolve this. And it won't even let us generate a teaching calendar. You see, I can't even click on this until I've resolved this problem. So let's go into each of these. Let's say that we've decided we're just going to shorten our literature. We're not going to teach a few of the units. Maybe Julius Caesar, we're going to just take out that entire unit. And it unchecks each of the lessons in that unit. It's a hard thing to do, obviously, to not teach a specific unit. Usually you're going to deselect units. You're not going to deselect parts of a unit. But you can do that too. If I just do not want to teach this lesson on Winnie the Pooh, that would be tough because you're not finishing that particular unit. And so it might not make sense to stop with Tigger's dishonesty. But you can see you can do that. Okay, we're done with literature, and we are at negative 32. We've got some more work to do, so let's go into history. And let's just say we've decided that we're going to take history a little bit slower, and we're going to take the last 2 units of history off, and we're going to remember that, and we're going to teach it the next year. And that's just fine too. So we close that, and we're to negative 19. Let's go to more music, smarter babies. And let's say in this unit, we really just want to study the Handel Messiah lessons in this one this year. So let's uncheck everything that's not that. Oh, I thought it did have that in this one. I guess it doesn't. I thought it had some Messiah lessons in this. Oh, there it is. There. I guess there's just one. But you can see, let's say we just decide we're only going to teach those 2 units in music and more music, smarter babies. And let's look at where we're at, negative 7. We're getting close. And let's do the same thing in geography. Let's say let's scrap the physical. No, can't do that. I love physical geography. Let's scrap the political geography of this of this one. You get the idea, though. I don't need to actually get to the point where we can generate this, but I would like to show it to you. So we are there. We have 12 days remaining. And remember what I said in a previous step, that it's a good idea to have about 10%, 15% of your total days that you teach remaining as a buffer for those days when you're sick, when you want to take an extra long time, or maybe 2 days for a lesson, or you have a break, or you need a break, or you have a vacation that comes up that you need to take. Anyway, it's smart to include some kind of a buffer there. Don't go all the way to that 138 days. If that's the maximum number of days that you can teach, then maybe come off of it a little bit, 10%, 15%. Once you get to the point where you're ready to generate that calendar and see how it looks on your schedule based on your school settings. Remember that we set up in step 2. Go ahead and click Generate Teaching Calendar. It says success, your schedule has been created. And let's go to the calendar and see what that looks like now. It's going to look a little bit differently than the one that we created manually. It's all set for us. And like we have the very first 5 lessons, we put foundations first, and we're teaching unit by unit. And so it pulls all those foundations lessons and it puts them there at the beginning, which is what we want. And then we get into the first unit of history. It skips this week. And why did it do that? It did that because in our settings, we have a break in April. April 14th to April 21st is a break. And so it didn't put anything in there. And we didn't want it to put anything in there because we're on break. And we can skip from month to month. I've generated this, and now we've hit that summer break. So you can kind of see how this generates a calendar automatically. Like I said, just like the manual events, you can push these around. So if we don't get to a lesson that week, and let's say we missed the Tuesday lesson, well, let's just push them to Friday, and let's teach Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Or even if we need to do the same thing to the next week and we want to do it next week instead, we can pull that around to here. Or maybe we just want to take one day where we teach 2 lessons to catch up, and that's fine too. You can put 2 in one day. Anyway, a lot of versatility with the calendar, a lot of options there. You can delete events, you can drag and drop events. You might need to watch this demo a couple times to understand how to use the calendar, but it's a tool for you. If it's not helpful to use the automated calendar generation tool that I just showed you, then just create your calendar manually. Once you're done with that, I do want to show you again, going back up here, if I'm preparing for next week, if I click on this lesson prep generator now, and I select the dates next week that I'm going to be teaching, Monday through Friday, generate the prep list, and down here it tells me exactly what I need to prepare for each of those lessons. This is kind of a fun way to simplify your preparation. If you want a PDF of it, just click on PDF and you can print it off. And that pretty much is the end of step 5. I think step 5, maybe that's step 6. No, it's step 5. Anyway, we're moving on to the next step, which is planning and preparing. We're getting into teaching, actually how to teach a family school lesson in the next couple of steps. And so that gets fun. Your work is done. And now to the fun part, actually preparing to teach and teaching and using family school each day. All right, that's it for today.